This is table of contents for part 1, which includes introduction, case study content, and conclusion. For introduction, this case study is about a group of students on the international campus discuss about lactose intolerance and some of them who cannot tolerate dairies, like ice cream. This type of disease are common in some of the regions in the world. For the first question, case study content, do you see patterns in the geographic distribution of the black and white dots? Describe the patterns qualitatively. From the map, we can see that East Asia, Southern Europe, Middle East 1, and West Africa seems to have the most lactose intolerant population, while Northern Europe, Middle East 2, and East Africa have the most lactose intolerant population. For the second content questions, how would you quantify these patterns? The patterns is about lactose tolerant population. For the Northern Europe, 8 over 10, Southern Europe, 3 over 10, West Africa, 1 over 10, East Africa, 7 over 10, Middle East 1, 2 over 10, Middle East 2, 6 over 10, East Asia, 0 over 10. For the third questions, count the black and white dots for each circle region and calculate the percentage of dairy-tolerant people in each region. Plot your findings in the graph below. After doing the calculation, this is the graph that I get. For the Northern Europe, there are 80% of dairy-tolerant individuals. In Southern Europe, there are 30%, West Africa 10%, East Africa 70%, Middle East 1 20%, Middle East 2 60%, and East Asia 0%. For the fourth question, what does this data mean in terms of likelihood for a person from a particular geographic area to be dairy tolerant? This means you are 80 to 60% chance to be lactose tolerant if you are from Northern Europe, East Africa, and Middle East too. But if you are from Southern Europe, West Africa, Middle East, and Middle East 1 and East Asia, you are likely to be 0 until 30% chance of being lactose intolerant. Next, contents for part 2, which includes introduction, case study content, conclusion, and references. For the introduction, how lactase catalyzes the hydrolysis of lactose. Lactase is an enzyme. It breaks down lactose, a sugar in milk and milk products. Some people's bodies do not make enough lactase, so they are not able to digest milk well, which can lead to diarrhea, cramps, and gas. This is referred to as lactose intolerance. People who are lactose intolerant have trouble digesting the milk sugar lactose. Lactase is an enzyme that splits the milk sugar lactose to produce the sugars, glucose, and galactose. Lactase catalyzes the hydrolysis of the glycosidic bond in the disaccharide lactose, releasing galactose and glucose. These monosaccharides are then used primarily for the generation of adenosine triphosphate (ATP) via the citric acid cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. For the first question, what is the difference between a protein and an enzyme? Search the internet if you need more clarification and write down a definition of each term. A definition for protein is a naturally occurring, extremely complex substance that consists of amino acid residues joined by peptide bonds, while the definition of an enzyme is a substance produced by a living organism which acts as a catalyst to bring about a specific biochemical reaction. Proteins are present in all living organisms and include many essential biological compounds such as enzymes, hormones, and antibodies. But for the enzymes, it is the proteins that help speed up metabolism or the chemical reactions in our bodies. They build some substances and break others down. All living things have enzymes. Our bodies naturally produce enzymes. Third question. What is a monosaccharide and what is a disaccharide? Which of these three sugars are mono or disaccharide? The answer is monosaccharide is a sugar that is not decomposable into simpler sugars by hydrolysis, is classed as either an aldose or ketose, and contains one or more hydroxyl groups per molecule. Disaccharide, also called double sugar, is any substance that is composed of two molecules of simple sugars, monosaccharides, linked to each other. Figure 2, that this is an action of lactase. Lactose is a disaccharide, glucose and galactose is a monosaccharide. For the third question, how can taking lactate help someone who is lactose intolerant to digest lactose? Lactate products contain lactase, a natural enzyme that helps break down lactose, the sugar found in dairy foods like milk, ice cream, or cheese into two simple sugars, galactose and glucose, that are easily digested. This is because people who are lactose intolerant do not make enough lactase to break down this sugar. Question number 4. Why would a test for tolerance to lactose measure the levels of blood glucose and not lactose? The answer is, since lactose is normally broken down to glucose and galactose, taking the lactose drink would normally lead to absorption of this glucose and results in an increase in blood glucose. In persons with lactose intolerance, there is inadequate breakdown of lactose, and so this rising blood glucose is not seen. Also, lactose is too big for a molecule and cannot be transferred through blood where glucose can. For the fifth questions, would you expect higher or lower glucose levels for dairy-tolerant individuals after consuming milk? Why? The answer is I would expect higher glucose levels for dairy-tolerant individuals since their bodies are able to digest the lactose into glucose. On graph, the blue line represents my prediction of dairy tolerance and the orange line represents my prediction of dairy intolerance. You can see the blue line goes up for dairy-tolerant people since their bodies can digest lactose into glucose. Therefore, blood glucose level rise. Orange line goes down for lactose intolerance since their bodies cannot digest the lactose. I predict their glucose levels will go down slightly. In the conclusion, lactase is an enzyme that breaks lactose into sugars, glucose, and galactose. People with daily intolerance should consume lactate in order to help digesting lactose in their bodies. This is the references that I get to help to finish my case study. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Assalamualaikum.